All right, continuing chapter 2, well, let me see, we already did this slide. Continuing chapter 2, we're on page 21. All right, can you ever offer anything for free to the public? The answer is yes, but it has to be genuinely free with no strings attached. Um, Now, the law did change a couple of years ago where they did pass a law where you can offer things for free to the public with strings attached. However, it says the amendment further provided that it will not go into effect until the Real Estate Commission adopts rules to implement that revised statutory provision, which they have not yet done. So, can you ever offer anything for free to the public with strings attached? Not yet, but it's coming once the Real Estate Commission creates those rules. So as of now, can you offer anything free to the public? Yes, but you have to offer it to everyone, and no strings attached. Okay, so if you ever are giving anything for free, you got to give it to everybody. We cannot offer free appraisals. The reason being, we're not licensed appraisers. And what we can do to help people with figuring out the value of their home is we could offer a free CMA. CMA is a comparative market analysis. We offer them for free to the public for buyers and sellers to help them learn about the value of their home. It's similar to an appraisal, but it should not be considered one because we're not licensed appraisers. Okay. And this is the valuation that a real estate licensee gives to someone. It's usually complimentary, free of charge. BPOs, on the other hand, those are broker price opinions. We usually do them for lenders when they don't want to pay for an appraisal, and a real estate agent's valuation is good enough for them. They'll pay us for this. However, remember, even if you're doing BPOs, who do you got to be paid through? Only by your broker. So they can't pay you directly. You got to make sure they pay you through your broker if you're doing them for lenders. Okay. Now this was omitted from the 18th version book here. It says advertising that offers free appraisals is also prohibited, although offering a comparative market analysis of CMA is permissible. And I wrote here, or BPO, broker price opinion. So none of this is in your book right now anyhow. So just underneath this paragraph where we were talking about offering free items, just write, we cannot offer free appraisals. We're not licensed appraisers. We can offer free CMAs or BPOs to value properties, although BPOs we usually do in exchange for a fee for lenders. Okay. Everybody done writing there?
Yes.
So, offering a free appraisal instead of saying a CMA is going to end up landing you in hot water. The real estate industry has already been sued by the appraisers industry because we're not licensed appraisers, and agents tend to get lazy, and they tell people because it's easier for them to understand, I guess, to what an appraisal is. So they say, "Oh, I could give you an appraisal on your property so you know how much it is." No, you cannot. Appraising is a profession that requires licensing, and we are not licensed appraisers. So you must never call it an appraisal. I can't stress that enough. We could offer you a free pricing analysis, a CMA, call it whatever you want, just don't call it an appraisal. Okay. So here's my little slide here about the difference between a CMA and a BPO. Okay. Now, to sharpen your valuation skills, I highly suggest you guys take this class. It's less than $100 from the Ottawa Group. This is a group of appraisers that teach us real estate agents how to value properties. And they're probably going to do a better job in teaching you how to do it than your brokers will. A lot of brokers don't even have these skills down too great. They overprice properties sometimes. So OTTEAU.com. These guys, that's all they do. They're a group of appraisers, and they put together a class on how to value properties, specifically for real estate licensee. So take advantage of it. And they also give that CMA workshop. Look at their website for the CMA workshop whenever they hold it. They usually do that once a year, or one time during the year, they'll have a couple of classes for it. If they're not giving it right now, take their seasonal workshop. It'll touch on the valuation of properties a little bit, but the information that they give you along with that presentation is very useful. Plus, they tell us about they do these seasonal market updates, telling us specifically for New Jersey, telling us where the New Jersey real estate market is going in different areas of the state. They give their market predictions and why, and they support it by empirical evidence. So it's a pretty good class to take. I even signed up for their thing. They got some kind of a market watch. It's a newsletter that you get for all the different areas of the state. Several hundred areas of the state, and it gives you the breakdown of the real estate in all these areas. And also, this is good content you could also put into your own words and give your own presentations on your own website, making you look like the real estate expert to the public, right? If you keep up on your market updates, give it like a little newsletter on your own site there. It's definitely worth it. I'm going to touch upon it, and I'm going to mention these guys again. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. I just think it's a great class that they give, and I try to take it every year myself. And I know how to value properties. It's just a supporting evidence that they give you along with that. They give you some charts and things on how to value a pool, an additional bathroom, or if there's improvements done, to a house. How would you make adjustments for those differences? It's a pretty good. It's a pretty good class. All right. All right. So let's see. Any advertisement. So this is that page 21. We already highlighted a lot of this stuff. This is just a recap, but a screenshot of the whole thing. From the first 1, 2, 3 chapters, or 3 paragraphs, which I need to update this, obviously, because it's a little bit different than what the book got. So let me take a screenshot of that to update it. Okay, I'll update these slides, but either way, it's still the same information, just maybe a sentence may be different here. Anytime we offer something to the public, we got to fully disclose all the terms and conditions. Offering rebates, we got to advise people to consult a tax professional. Anytime we talk about financing in an ad, full disclosure is required. We need to comply with Regulation Z, right? We have to discriminate. We have to say to those who qualify or to a qualified buyer. And then disclose additional terms if certain triggering terms are used in the ad, right? We would have to disclose the APR, down payment if required, and the term. No advertising or sign may indicate that a property is sold until title, meaning ownership, has passed by delivery and acceptance of the deed to the next owner. Any offer of a free item or gift has to be genuinely free with no strings attached. And we can help people determine the value of their properties by offering them a free CMA, comparative market analysis. You'll get something on exams about CMA. How do real estate professionals help people value properties? We do a comparative market analysis, CMA. And then at the bottom of that page, we got this. So no real estate salesperson or broker salesperson shall accept a commission or valuable consideration from any person other than their employing broker. We already know that. Now, this is a modification that was made in the law recently that allows you to form a LLC and get paid in the name of the LLC. Sometimes we get students that say, do I have to get paid in my name? Can I get my broker? I have an LLC. Can I have them pay me in the name of my LLC? Well, New Jersey Real Estate Commission, because they were bothered so much about this by people, said, yeah, okay, sure, you can. However, your LLC needs to be a licensed entity too. So how much it costs to license an LLC and all that, you got to check with the Real Estate Commission or check on their payment pages there. But you would need to be licensed as an individual, plus your LLC you'd have to pay the fee to have it licensed as well. And then you could get paid in the name of your LLC, but your LLC needs to be associated with you in the Real Estate Commission's records so they know that it's you that's actually the one that's getting paid by the broker. Okay. If that's a thing you were interested in. So as you can see, the New Jersey Real Estate Commission shall create a registration process for limited liability companies and other entities to receive commissions. Did they do that yet? I don't know. Once again, I don't know if they did that yet either. But so you'd have to check with them. So what was that two things? You know what? I'm going to reach out to the Real Estate Commission and I'm going to ask them because that's two issues now. Let's see, offering free items. Check with rec. System in place for offering free items. And paying agents in LLC. Okay, I'm going to check with them on that. See if they got those things in place yet or not. I would assume they would have reached out to me, but I have not heard anything. Anyway, so you cannot use a lottery or games of chance to sell real estate in New Jersey. We're in a nanny state. I think the Gaming Commission would have something to say about that, right? So offering anything for free to the public must be genuinely free with no strings attached, not contingent on you doing any business with that broker. However, new laws offering free items with strings attached, but only after the REC creates rules on how to do so, which they have not done so as of yet. So there's my interpretation of that. Okay. And that's, I mean, if you read what they got over here, your head's going to be spinning trying to figure out what the heck they're talking about. But basically, that's what they were saying in a nutshell. All right. I summarized it up top here. That's what 4515-17G says. Okay. And continuing that, let's see, the commission regulations supplementing the LAD, the law against discrimination, says that we as licensees may not in any way advertise a property or express in any way discriminatory limitation or preference in words or illustrations when advertising properties. Yeah, you can't discriminate. You definitely can't advertise that you're discriminating either. All right. And any advertisement that mentions a specific commission rate or amount, you also have to put in that ad. In New Jersey, all commissions are negotiable to show that you're in compliance with the Sherman Antitrust Act, that you don't engage in the illegal practice of price fixing. All right. And once again, here's that slide from the about price fixing that I think we had in an earlier section here, right? Let's see. Price fixing. This is Slide 83. There we go. Slide better. That same thing. 80. Okay. Signage. When it comes to signage, you guys may have seen some of these signs before. I know social media. Listen, social media. You guys got it. You guys got to get offline sometimes. Social media has got so much nonsense on it, especially with all the race baiting these days and trying to pit people against each other by class warfare and all kinds of nonsense like that. I've seen posts on social media where they say when you see a sign like this on a house, it's a racist thing that they always put in neighborhoods with minorities. These people are idiots. I don't know where they get this information from. Um, these signs are required by law. These signs, if you ever seen when there's a natural disaster like Hurricane Katrina or when a storm rolls in anywhere, you get rescue workers. Anytime there's floods, you could even see these signs on cars that it means that a rescue worker checked them and that they're vacant and that they've already checked them, that they're vacant, and whether there is a hazardous condition or not. If there's just a box, that means that it's vacant and there's no hazardous conditions. If there's a single line through it, it says use caution because there may be hazardous conditions. And if there's a box with an X through it, that means it's vacant and do not enter this structure except when you know for a fact, it's to save life, to save someone's life because there's somebody in there. Because in 1999, it says here, December 3rd, 1999, 6 firefighters entered an abandoned warehouse. The firefighters had entered the structure and became a 6th-floor warehouse. And they've entered the structure and they became disoriented and unable to escape the maze-like interior before multiple collapses occurred. So after this disaster, the OSHA, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, they recommended that all fire departments should identify dangerous vacant buildings and affixing warning placards to entry doorways or other openings where firefighters may enter. Okay, that's what this is about. This has nothing to do with being in certain neighborhoods trying to minorities or something like that. This has to deal with the vacant buildings and vacant structures. So you may also see the sign like this with some wording on it too. Unsafe, dangerous, firefighters do not enter or occupy. You see this after floods, tornadoes, or other storms and natural disasters all the time. Look, here's some examples of this placards on buildings. Okay, I mean, this one's more obvious than the other ones, but that doesn't mean that there's not dangerous conditions. They inspected the buildings, there's dangerous conditions, so they put that placard on there in case they do bust out in flames. Don't go into these buildings. They're dangerous. They could collapse on their own or have issues. The single line through it just means use caution. Or you could even see signs like this that don't even have the box on it. This is one that happened in my town where the furnace was had maintenance done to it, and then they did after they reconnected the exhaust pipe, it dislodged, and it was spewing the toxic gases into the house, and it ended up killing one child, and another one was in a coma. So they put this placard here, it's declared unsafe for human occupancy until the thing is repaired and then it's re-inspected. And just the square, you're looking at the white square here. around it. It could have a red box in it, or sometimes when they don't have these handy, they just do it with spray paint. They put the square with no line, or with one line, or with two lines, the X in it. Okay, you've seen that during Hurricane Katrina. Well, I don't know, some of you seem a little young. Maybe during Hurricane Katrina, where the flood waters came in and people were in the attic. They had to cut the roofs, cut holes open in the roofs to help people get out, and then they spray painted the box with the X on it on the roofs. So if you guys never noticed these before, you may start noticing them now when you see like news clips or emergency responses and flooding or other natural disasters. You may start to notice these markings like this. It could be done with spray paint or signage. You guys know what this one is? This is a signage. You probably usually see it on public buildings and schools and large buildings where they may have a nuclear fallout shelter in the basement. Okay. This started in the 60s. You had during that threat where we were at constant threat of nuclear war. It was signed into law that people will actually get tax breaks for their properties if they have a fallout shelter for the public in their basement, but they have to fix a sign like this to the exterior of the building. See signs like this probably on tractor trailers, right? But you may also see them on fences or even on buildings. Now, what do these signs mean? Have you guys ever seen these before? You ever wondered what they meant? Well, they're color coded and they also have numbers on them. The higher numbers, the higher the danger. Okay. The white one is a special hazard. Okay. So the white one is represented by letters or codes, OX, SA, or W with a line through it, because it could be special hazards like oxidizers or water reactive or asphyxiating gases. Okay. Things of that nature. Okay. So when you see these and they got high numbers on them, be careful. You know, red, that's flammable. There we go. Getting a little tongue tied there. Sorry. So red is flammability. Blue is health hazard. Yellow is reactive or instability. And white is those dangerous asphyxiating gases and water reactive things that could explode if they come into touch with water. You know. All right. Now we got those signage out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about rebates. You don't need to take notes on the signs, by the way. I'm just showing you them so you get a practical, at least you see it once and you had it explained to you once. That stuff's not on exam though. Commission rebates. Okay, we already spoke about this. This is on page 22, but I'm giving you a little more detail. It's only for buyers of residential property, their primary residence can receive a rebate. So sellers don't get rebates, only buyers of a primary residence that they're going to live in. That's their main residence. Rebates must be a direct reduction of the commission due to the agency. Rebates can only be offered as a credit or a check at closing. And it must be in writing from the start of our relationship with our buyer clients that we're offering them a rebate and how much that rebate is going to be. All parties then need to be made aware, all parties in the transaction need to be made aware that we're offering a rebate to the buyer. So because of that, I'm going to give you a little tips here on when to notify everybody and how to do that. So lenders can forbid offering a rebate due to factors like the type of the loan that may have restrictions that won't allow us to offer rebates. So even though you offered your buyers a rebate, you said you're going to give them a rebate, the lender can step in later on and be like, yeah, you can't give them the rebate. And then you can't give them the rebate. Okay. It's beyond our control. Now, here's a little tip. When you're offering rebates, when do you offer them? Because we have to let everybody know that a rebate is being offered. So I would say not to screw up your negotiations in the transaction, that after the offer is signed, agreed upon, and it goes to the attorneys for attorney review, notify the attorneys during attorney review that you're offering a rebate so that they add it in and everybody's aware of it and it's on paper, it's documented that you disclosed it to everybody. Not that you just verbally said it and then they're going to say, oh, they never said they were offering a rebate, and then you get in trouble, because we're supposed to notify everybody in the transaction that we're offering a rebate to the buyer. But if you do that before you're done with your negotiations and the offer is accepted, the seller may be thinking, well, they're getting money back, they could afford to pay more. And you're going to screw up your negotiations. So don't do it at that point. Do it after it's accepted and it goes to the attorneys for review. Let the attorneys know, oh, by the way, can you put it in the review documents that we are offering a rebate to the buyer? Okay. That's the best way to go about doing it. Okay. But what do you highlight here in the book? It cannot be offered through a lottery, contest, or game, and that you should advise people to consult a tax professional. And everybody needs to be made aware that you're offering a rebate. Right? See, I went a little bit beyond, and I gave you little tips and additional information. So if anybody wants a snap picture of that information to have it for your own records there, my advice. Or not, okay. So on page 22, once again, price fixing stuff again. You think that stuff's going to be on exam? Geez, it's like beating a dead horse. How many times have we mentioned it already? And we haven't even gotten to chapter 3 yet, where chapter 3 is where all this stuff about price fixing is. So any agreement between competing offices to establish a standard commission rate is forbidden, not only by the federal government, but also by the Real Estate Commission. I just gave a little cross-reference here, page 55, that's in chapter 3, where they actually talk about price fixing, which is a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. All right, and it also makes allocation of markets and bid rigging of auctions illegal as well. This is once again just for you to know, not to study, but this has happened in the past. So the the Real Estate Commission, they put out an advisory rule about this. So it could happen again in the future. So I just want to make you aware of how this works. Years ago, we used to have a company. I don't know if you guys even remember the name. There used to be a real estate company out there called Foxtons. They first hit the United States. They were called YHD Foxtons. It was Your Home Direct Foxtons. They came from the UK. They were really a mortgage company, a lender. How do lenders get their business? They're going to come soliciting you guys in your offices. They're going to be bribing you with coffee and donuts every morning. Yeah, at your offices. And they're going to be standing around and putting their business cards and giving you in your hands and giving you flyers. They're going to introduce themselves. They're going to say, hey, listen, we're with this mortgage company. If you got any clients that need to be approved, we're here. Here's my information. Call me anytime. I could get them approved for you. That's how they get their business. They make as much in commissions as we do. So they get their commissions this way. And this is how they get their clients, rather. So Foxtons came up with an idea. Instead of groveling to real estate agents and all these other companies, let's come up with our own real estate company. And then we can get our own buyers that we could qualify for the mortgage loans. And then once we got them, Even if they buy the house through a different company, they're still probably going to get the mortgage loan through us because we already qualified them for the mortgage. So Foxtons came up with a bright way of getting a lot of buyers and sellers by charging an extremely low commission rate. They actually started by offering a 1% commission. But then that business model they saw that was not going to sustain them at all. They would lose money on it. So they raised it to 2% before they eventually raised it to 3%. Okay. And they used to drive around with these little cars with the green cars with a flower on them on the side. And it had the 3% in the middle of the flower. It was like a daisy. They paid their agents a small salary plus commission. They provided cell phones and laptops and the leads for them. So you would come in, you were either a listing agent or you were a buyer's agent, but they took low fee commissions. There were 3% commissions that they then split. So the other side, if you wanted to go in and show one of their listings, they were offering you 1.5% commission. And then you need to still split that with your broker, right? Whatever your commission split is. So a lot of agents really hated this company for that, you know. So because you're going out there, you're getting 6% commissions, and then you're splitting them and offering them half of your commission. They're getting 3%. That's like their total commission. So you get a lot of agencies that were then starting to say, hey, listen, our total commission is 6%. We're splitting it 3% to the agency that brings in the buyers, unless you're Foxtons. And then you're only getting 1.5% like you give us guys. It seems kind of retaliatory, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that as long as that is a pattern and it's spelled out. However, real estate agents were doing it in a wrong way. By doing it this way, they were saying this is a reciprocal commission. And they said they only offer us 1.5%, so we're only offering them 1.5%. Does that sound fair? Why would it not be fair? Basically, because they're offering you 50% of their total commission, and you're offering them less than 50% of your total commission. See, agents misinterpreted the reciprocal commissions and how that works. You could offer what they're offering. That doesn't mean if they're offering 1.5%, you could offer them 1.5%, even though you're collecting 6. It means that if they're offering 50% of their total commission, you offer 50% of their your total commission. That is reciprocal. Okay. So anything else is punitive and it's illegal. So, and you open yourself up to lawsuits and slander and all kinds of things because it makes it look like the company that's offering the low commissions was doing something wrong. So that's what this rec notice is about here. It had to deal specifically with Foxtons. If I click on that, yeah, okay. So they have that commission split advisory and an addendum. I could share this with you guys if it's of interest to you. Then that's about that reciprocal commission stuff. I'm not going to open it up and start getting into that right now. It's not on exams, so let's not go down that rabbit hole. Okay. So far, we learned a bunch of rules and regulations and advertising stuff. Now, what happens if you violate any of these rules? What could happen to you? I showed you a bunch of examples from the Real Estate Commission's disciplinary actions page. But what are the fines? What are the possibilities of what could happen to your license? Well, here it is right here. Okay. So highlight these things on page 22. Once you got it, I'm going to change the slide. And I'll give you an explanation in my own words. Because the book here tends to like to define a word with the same word, like suspending a license, suspension, revoking a license, revocation. You can't define a word with the word itself. That's like, what is air? It's air. Try explaining this to a child. They'll be confused still. Right? What is water? It's water. What's a rocket ship? It's a rocket ship. So, yeah, probation is a strong warning that you're going to be closely observed by the licensing authority. So you're put on double probation. You're put on probation, okay? Um, so these are the things that they could do against your license if you violate licensing law. So the actions against your license from least severe discipline to the most severe. Probation's the least severe, where they just give you a stern warning and they're going to be closely observing your actions working for 6 months, a year, or however long it is. They could suspend your license. This is a temporary lifting of your license during which time you cannot work. Or they could revoke your license. That means that they're taking it away. This could be for a certain period of time or for life. Now, what's the difference between suspension and revocation? If they temporarily lift your license in which you can't work versus revocation where it can be taken away for a period or life. Isn't that the same thing? Well, because there's other things that happen when they revoke your license if it's temporary. It's still a more severe discipline because as we get into a couple of cases that you're going to start to see, if they take away your license instead of just suspending it, they don't have to give your license back as it was before. For instance, if you had a broker salesperson's license and they suspended your license for a period, you'd get your broker salesperson's license back. But if they revoke your license for a period of time, they may knock you down to a salesperson's license. And to get a broker salesperson's license again, you'd have to take the whole 150-hour course, the exams, and go through that whole rigmarole again. Okay. So that's wherein the technicalities of the differences of that lie. Okay. Now, fines can be imposed in addition to sanctions against your license if you violate licensing law, real estate law. Fines for violating licensing law are up to $5,000 for a first violation and up to $10,000 for subsequent violations. Okay, so you'll need to know that for exams. It will absolutely be on exams. You need to know least severe to most severe actions against your license and what are the possible fines if you violate licensing law. So they may give you a question on exam that says, hey, you a real estate agent on their first offense of violating licensing law, they could be fined $3,000, $7,000, $10,000, or $25,000. And your answer would be?
5 or under, which would be 3.
Oh, that wasn't an option. Oh, yes, correct.
3,000, yeah.
Okay. Yes, the 3. Because it's up to 5,000. Doesn't have to be 5,000. So anything up to in that range. So you got to pay attention on how they word those questions there. So it's up to 5,000 for a first violation, up to 10,000 for subsequent violations. Now, if you're dealing in timeshares or out-of-state properties marketed to New Jersey residents, those timeshares and subdivided land sales, well, that's totally different. Minimum fine is $250 with a maximum of $50,000 per offense. Okay. But I don't think you need to study this one. I don't think they're going to give you a question on that. They usually give you a question on the fines for like standard violations. Like you don't have the CIS or the open house sign or a sign-in sheet at your open house like you're supposed to. How much can you be fined? What can happen to your license? Well, that's a minor offense. They'll probably just put you on probation if they even bother doing that they're going to watch you. They're going to give you a warning. And they could give you a $50 fine or a $100 fine if they want to make it sting a little, right? But they could give a fine up to $5,000 if they wanted to. But do they just issue you fines and take actions against your license and you have no say in it? No. You're guilty till you're innocent until proven guilty, right? So there is a process to it. The procedure is they'll send you a 10-day advance notice to attend a hearing in Trenton. And If you're not satisfied with the results, that could be appealed to the New Jersey Superior Court. And your broker could also be disciplined for your wrong actions if they had guilty knowledge. Ooh, guilty knowledge, another word to add to your definition list. So I'll have it in another slide what the definition of guilty knowledge is, but it's basically the broker can be held liable for things that their agents do if they were aware of it and they took no actions to stop or prevent those activities, those law-breaking activities that their agents were doing. The broker can be held just as liable. And we already seen this in examples that I've already given in this class, where an agent didn't do something. I think they gave I forget what the example was that I gave, but I gave an example. The broker got fined $2,000 and their agent was fined $2,500. I remember the fine, but I forget what the example was that I already showed you guys. Now, violations. Licensees must notify the real estate commission within 30 days of any conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime. Repeat offenders with 3 or more violations may have their licenses revoked for life. They could be deemed repeat offenders, like they just don't give a crap. It doesn't have to necessarily even be something very extremely serious. Usually it would be in order for them to revoke your license for life. But it could also be something that's not that extreme, but they keep warning you, they keep telling you, they keep fining you, and you got this attitude like you just don't give a crap. They could be like, you know what? You're going to keep on this route. We'll just take away your license and you won't be able to work legally, period. Now, serious offenses may result in your license suspension until the case is resolved. So even though you're innocent until proven guilty in the United States for crimes, well, the Real Estate Commission would be considered complicit if they allowed you to still have access to lock boxes, to get keys, to enter into people's houses, and give you the opportunity to possibly commit a crime again for serious examples like rape, murder, robbery, criminal conspiracy, and so on. Okay, so for those instances, even though you're innocent until proven guilty, the Real Estate Commission can suspend your license if you are, you have a trial coming up for some of these very serious offenses like this. Let's see. All right. By the way, Anna and everybody else there, if you got questions, just ask them to me. Unless your mic's not working, I'm not sure, but yeah, just ask the questions. Okay, so we have a question here. It says, as a real estate agent, do you tend to recommend to buyers or sellers a lender that you prefer to work with, or a lender that your broker's office prefers, or does it matter? Yeah, it don't matter. I try to find lenders that do not overpromise and underdeliver. I don't like, I like lenders that actually keep their promises to people, that they could actually get a loan when they qualify them because they actually qualified them. Ones that don't screw over the clients and say last minute, oh, you need this extra boatload of money. Oh, surprise, surprise, and ones that actually follow up and get back to you on time with the mortgage pre-qualification letters, the approval letters, and the mortgage commitments. Sometimes with some of these mortgage reps, when it comes to getting the mortgage commitment, all of a sudden they're nowhere to be found. They're not answering the phone call, and you're just trying to do an inquiry. Hey, what's the holdup? And you can't even get in touch with them. So are you going to continue working with them on your next deal? Hell no. So. But people who are very responsive and are good, which are kind of hard to find. That's why there's a big turnover rate in these industries amongst real estate salespeople as well as amongst mortgage reps. Once you find a couple, yeah, hold on to them, use them, keep them in your little thing, but don't recommend anybody. Don't personally recommend anybody. Just say, hey, listen, these are some service providers we've used before, our clients have used before, and they were happy with them, and they're very diligent. So I don't personally recommend anybody because past performance is not a guarantee of future performance, but these guys did a good job. Okay, so we're going to keep using them until they no longer do good jobs, So another tip with that though is if you're getting a bunch of clients, don't put all your eggs in one basket either. Get a couple of good mortgage reps if you can, and then spread the love, because you may now be overburdening them with too much work. And then all of a sudden, these good responsive agents may not be so responsive anymore because they're getting all stressed out. They're over, you're giving them too much. And if you put all your eggs in that one basket, now all your deals are going to crap. So spread it out a little bit, okay? Plus, I don't think you're allowed to be giving it all to one group. I think there's some kind of law or rule that says that a certain percentage of your total deals can go to one particular mortgage company. But I think that's as the brokerage as a whole, maybe not you as an individual agent. Okay, just want to throw that out there. So I like to get a couple agents, mortgage agents, ones that are good with maybe hard to unique transactions where you got a client that's hard to get pre-qualified for a mortgage. They may have less than perfect credit, things of that nature. Those are unique cases, get somebody who's good at getting those people loans. But don't just give them the hard cases all the time. Every now and then, throw them an easy one, throw them a bone because they're working hard to get those hard to do cases through for you and to make the deals happen. So throw them an easy one every now and then too. Then you've got those ones that specialize in different kinds of loans other than just FHA. Most of these mortgage reps, they get trained on FHA and that's all they know. Okay. But you may need somebody who has builder loans. Ones for higher priced homes. You maybe loans for investors. There's all kinds of loans for veterans. You need a mortgage rep that's familiar with the VA loan. A VA loan is much better than a FHA loan. But yet I've seen mortgage reps try to convince the veteran you're better off with an FHA loan. It's better for you. No, it ain't. Still requires 3.5% down. The VA loan doesn't require a veteran to put any money down whatsoever, and they get good competitive rates. So those mortgage reps, that just shows that they don't know anything. They just know one. They're a one-trick pony. That's all they know is that FHA loans. So yeah, that's a good question. Spread it around. There's some practical advice for everybody that they could use. So, but. Next time, just ask the question because I don't always see it. I'm not sure when you ask that. I don't always notice it right away on the chat window. So just tell me. Say, hey, Vic, I got a question. Okay. Okay. So yeah, here is a link to that disciplinary actions page on the Real Estate Commission's website as well. Remember, I keep showing you in some of these slides the screenshots from the disciplinary actions page on the Real Estate Commission's website when somebody was found guilty of something, that they did something wrong. Where do I get that from? Well, I get that from here on the disciplinary actions page, which I'll share that link with you guys too. Boom. By the way, once again, all these links in the Class Links Word document and these slideshows, which you have access to. So on that disciplinary actions page, if we were to click on it, it's not very interactive. This is what it looks like. It's not like it has a list or database where you could search somebody's name. I don't know, maybe you could search here, but you're searching the entire Department of Banking and Insurance's website. So not the disciplinary action stuff. So you'd have to go through year by year by year by year, to see. Let's see what happened. If anything interesting happened recently in 2025, let's take a look. Oh, only 2 people got in trouble so far this year, back in April. Let's see, this guy, Richard Formerly licensed. Uh-oh. I guess he did something really bad. Formerly licensed real estate broker in Camden. Uh, the commission upheld the 3-year license revocation instituted under the original final order determination. So let's see what that final order determination was. You click on that, now it gives you the court case. You could actually see, you see it? So it looks like court documents, the docket numbers and everything, right? But it's the real estate commission against him. What did he do? Uh, ba, 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 ba. License imposed civil penalties for costs for alleged violations, failure to maintain or supervise his licensed real estate office on a full-time basis, and failure to have his real estate office open to the public during regular business hours. In that this conduct demonstrated unworthiness, incompetence, and bad faith or dishonesty. Yeesh. Okie doke. So anyway, you could come here, you could read through some of these things if you want to see what's going on in the industry. Let's see, what did this guy do? Joshua Lenoff in Union County. Don't know him. What did he do? Engaged in advertising activities that were false and misleading. Unworthiness, incompetency, engaging in multiple separate acts of real estate activity while having an inactive license as well. The commission upheld denial of reinstatement of his license, imposed a period of 3 years from the issuance of date. He may not apply for licensure or engage in real estate activity of any kind, and a fine in the amount of $20,000 was imposed. Wow. So that obviously was not his first offense, huh? Or they said there was multiple offenses here. So apparently they already suspended his license, and he's like, well, screw that, I'm going to continue working. So they said, okay, well, then your license is suspended for 3 years, and you may not reapply for that reinstatement of that license before that, and you got paid 20 grand. Wow. Don't know what he did, but I guess you could click on final order of determination and learn about it. See, if you guys are into the drama, it's not just for TV. I guess you could listen to other people's mistakes here. All right. Anyway, that's the disciplinary actions page of the Real Estate Commission. So if you want a snap picture of my slide versus this, be my guest. Because I do spell out some things here that are also coming up, like that 3 or more violations, your license can be revoked for life, and that you need to notify the Real Estate Commission within 30 days of any conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime. I got everything you need to know to study for your exams on this page. What the fines for the first violation or subsequent violations are. So let me ask you a question. If you have one transaction that has multiple violations, that has 5 violations, how much can the Real Estate Commission fine you? One transaction, 5 violations, how much can they fine you?
Isn't it 5 for the first one and 10 for each other one? So it would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 45?
You nailed it. So you see here, up to 5,000 for the first offense, and up to the max. We're talking maximums here, but that's what the question was asking. So 10, up to 10,000 for subsequent violations of 10, 20, 30, 40, and 5. That's $45,000. You got it. Okay, so let's continue highlighting this. This is just the continuation of highlights for what they could do. The procedure, they give you 10 days advance notice of a hearing. And here I have a slightly better definition on the next slide about guilty knowledge, but here we'll highlight it in the book on page 23. When a salesperson is disciplined, the broker's license may or may not be affected depending on whether the broker had guilty knowledge. In other words, they knew what was going on and made no attempt to stop it. So this is something entirely different. When a broker's license is suspended or revoked, what happens to their salesperson's license? Knowing that you can't even work and get it until you affiliate with a broker that has an active license. Well, you can't work. Your license is suspended until that broker either gets their license reactivated, the broker's replaced, or you could transfer your license to another brokerage firm under an actively licensed broker and get your license reissued under that brokerage's name at no charge. The Real Estate Commission is not going to charge you for transferring your license and getting it reissued under that new broker because it's not your fault that they did something wrong. So they're not going to hold you liable for that. So there's actually two things here, two separate issues: guilty knowledge and what happens to your license when your broker's license is suspended or revoked. And then down here, I got that thing about the commission could also suspend a license for anybody waiting trial for serious crimes. Everybody good?
Good.
All right. So here's my slide on guilty knowledge. My definition of guilty knowledge is when the broker is aware or should have been aware that one of their licensed or unlicensed assistants is doing something wrong and makes no attempt to stop or prevent those activities. The broker can be held just as liable as the agent who did whatever was wrong. You see, I just tweaked the definition a little bit. And then what happens when your license to your license if your broker loses theirs? Well, all agents under that broker will have their licenses suspended, not because they did anything wrong, but because they cannot work unsupervised. And licensees can wait until the broker gets their license back, the broker's replaced with one who has an active license, or the agent transfers their license to another company under an actively licensed broker, and then the REC will waive the fee to reissue the license elsewhere under another broker's name. And it does happen. It's not that common, but it does happen. Here's an example in 2023. This guy, Leo Lager, I don't know how to pronounce that. What did he do? He admitted violating something or other. Oh, he did not renew his brokerage license in a timely manner. Okay, so if his brokerage license is not active, that means that nobody in his company has an active license either, right? They shouldn't be working either. So that really messed people up because now you got all these agents that are working and they're really not licensed either, but they probably were unaware of it. So he got in trouble for that, and they gave him a $5,000 fine because that was something that was pretty serious. But it doesn't look like they took away his license or anything. All right. All right, so now on the next page, well, actually on the bottom of page 23, this is split upon page 23 and page 24. This is the part that's on page 23, though. These are actions for which you could be fined or have actions against your license. Making false promises or substantial misrepresentations. Okay, so don't lie and don't exaggerate. We just saw on the disciplinary actions page that somebody just got fined a bunch of money because they were making all kinds of false advertisements, right? But false promises could also be like, yeah, your property value is sure to go up 10% in the next year. How the hell would you know that? You got that crystal ball? Give me the lottery numbers. Now, acting for more than one party in a transaction without knowledge of all parties thereof. What do we call that? Undisclosed dual agency, right? Pursuing a flagrant and continued course of misrepresentation or making false promises. Failure to account for or pay over money belonging to others. Your clients give you money. What do you got to do with it?
Give it to your broker.
How soon?
within
Immediately. Because your broker has how long to put it in they got to do their documentation in their escrow books and then deposit it in the bank account. So that needs to be
5 days.
within 5 business days. Yep. Conduct demonstrating unworthiness, incompetence, dishonesty, or bad faith. Wow. Imagine having sanctions against your license because you're incompetent. That's not good. Failure to provide a client with a copy of a contract at the time of signing, or failing to specify an expiration date in a listing. Using a lottery, contest, game, prize, or drawing to promote the sale of real estate. Being convicted of a crime in which the commission does not have knowledge. Collecting a commission as a broker in a transaction while simultaneously representing either party in a different capacity for consideration, that's anything of value. For instance, acting as their attorney as well as their broker in the same transaction. Yeah, a little conflict of interest there. Using any trade name or insignia of a real estate organization while not being a member of it. I guess I could also throw out there, associate to that one, claiming that you're a Circle of Excellence award winner when you have not been awarded that award yet, even if you've earned it. If they have not officially given it to you yet and you start advertising that you got it, I've seen an agent get in trouble for this before. They actually earned the Circle of Excellence award. They were told that they were going to be getting it, but before they actually got awarded it, they started advertising that, and that was false advertising. They were claiming they got the award when they didn't. They didn't yet. So they got in trouble for that. Paying any compensation or commission to an unlicensed person, except in some circumstances to a buyer. What are they talking about? What circumstances? Paying any compensation or commission to an unlicensed person, except in some circumstances to a buyer. What are they talking about?
I guess the rebate.
There you go, buyer's rebates. Any other conduct constituting fraud or dishonest dealing. As a salesperson or broker salesperson, accepting any commission or valuable consideration from anyone except their employing broker. And procuring a real estate through fraud or deceits that could come back and bite you in the booty. And looks like that happened to this guy, right? He said that he didn't owe child support, but he did. So he had to pay a $1,500 fine, and his license is suspended until he gets caught up on his child support arrearages. Okay, continuing the list on page 24. You could do these highlights. Commingling the licensee's own money with that of the clients and customers, or failure to maintain and properly deposit others' money in the special trust account. Selling property in which a licensee has an interest without disclosing in the contract of sale that interest and the fact that the seller is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker. Buying property without disclosing in the contract of sale that the buyer is a licensed real estate salesperson or broker. That's a new requirement. Actually, it's been a requirement for a long time. So many people have not been doing it. They changed the contracts to actually include a line in there where you have to check off, if you're involved in the real estate transaction, that you are a licensee and what kind of license you hold. Buying property without disclosing in the contract that you're a licensed real estate salesperson or broker, violating any of the rules or regulations on rental practices, failure to notify the REC within 30 days of any conviction, indictment, or being charged with a crime, or of the suspicion or revocation of any real estate license issued by another state, or the initiation of disciplinary proceedings. Violating any of the previous items or the administrative rules adopted by the commission. And if a licensee is guilty of a third violation of any of the listed articles, the person may be considered a repeat offender and denied ever holding a real estate license again. So you get your license revoked for life. See how I had all this stuff on just my one slide? instead of all these bullet points that are spread all over the place. So if you needed another chance, here's that slide again to snap a picture of it if you wanted. It's got everything in one place there, all that stuff. Up here, here, and here, and here, and here. Okay, everybody get it that wanted it? All right, moving on. That's the end of this chapter. Took long enough. All right, so let's do the key terms to review like we do in every chapter here. I read the term on the term on the right side. You're going to write the key term. Actually, I'll read the definition on the right. You guys read out what you think the corresponding key term is on the left-hand side of the page. There's no penalties for wrong answers, so shout them out as you got them. Are you ready? A little bit of Cash Cab here we're playing, okay? The real estate version of Cash Cab. Broker's additional place of business. The broker's additional place of business.
Branch office.
It is a branch office. One is A. Correct. Least severe discipline by the Real Estate Commission. What is their least severe discipline?
Probation.
Yeah, they put you on double secret probation. Yes. 6 is B. Place for money belonging to clients and customers.
Escrow account.
Yes, it's an escrow account. 4 is C. It could also be a trust account. So you'll see they'll have here another name for escrow account, trust account. Okay, but 4 is C. Copy of a real estate contract with the original signatures.
Duplicate original.
A duplicate original. 3 is D. That is correct. Awareness of wrongdoing with no attempt to stop it.
Guilty knowledge.
They have guilty knowledge. 5 is E. Correct. Mixing brokers' money with that of others.
Commingling.
Commingling.
Commingling. 2 is F. Cancellation of a real estate license.
Revocation.
Revocation. 7 is G. Temporary lifting of a real estate license.
Suspension.
So 8 is H. Suspension. Another name for an escrow account.
Trust account.
Trust account.
Trust account. 9 is I. And form sellers must sign if they do not want the broker to offer cooperation with any other broker.
Waiver of cooperation.
10 is J, the waiver of broker cooperation. And this concludes chapter 2.